Good evening. My name is Ray Dwyer. This is Dr. Joe Dispenza's Meditation and Book Discussion Group. Tonight we are discussing You Are the Placebo, Chapter 5, How Thoughts Change the Body and the Mind and the Brain. Actually, I didn't say that right. It's How Thoughts Change the Brain and the Body. There you go. And this is Chapter 5. Chapter 3, we talked about how thoughts change the brain. In that, you find that it says we literally get new neural pathways, and when we forget or quit using it, it goes away. As we have an emotion, the brain is surged with energy. As you make a choice, the body responds to the action and floods the brain with chemicals. The brain is affected on a moment by moment basis by every thought and deed you do. How thoughts change the body. Chapter 4. As you get a thought, and you choose and the body responds, you release chemicals, and those chemicals affects your genetic expression. That was the big thing from last chapter, is that your gene expression is not a switch. Yes, no, yes, no. It is like specialized processor where each gene has an assortment of possibilities depending on the environment that the gene is in. What that means is that for every thought and choice you make, and every change of chemistry in your body, your genes potentially could make a different expression. I say potentially because a lot of us live the same life continuously through most of our day. But potentially you can change your energy in a moment and your genes will change what they're doing in a moment. Now, what's the big deal about that? That word is called epigenetics, above genes. What it means is that our body chemistry is what is the primary ruler of our gene expression, except our energy expression. I have this image of a column of light in me. That's why I can't help but do this. When I think of imaging expression, I go, nah. But anyway, we have an energy being that rules the body. Remember, the field defines the particle. Our field defines our body on a moment by moment basis, and our genes will change their expression. Why is that important? That is the wow factor of Dr. Joe's conferences. I think if not every conference he has, somebody gets this in a big way during one of the meditations, and they change epigenetically in that moment. And you hear people screaming and hollering and thrashing around stuff because their body is letting go of a lifetime of holding on. And they have amazing healings right there in real time, right in front of people. I'm telling you, the epigenetic change can be a healing where it takes process, or it can be really, really abrupt. Now, let me begin the chapter of chapter 5, how thoughts change the brain and the body. What I do for those who are new here is I read a little bit, talk a little bit. Sometimes I talk a little bit more. Now you can understand that whether it's joyful or stressful, with every thought you think, every emotion you feel, and every event you experience, you're acting as an epigenetic engineer of your own cells. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel is making micro adjustments to that little heliax so that it releases different hormones, or it can release the same one again and again and again. If we're continuously living the same life, your genes will do the same thing. But the potential is there so that when you really change your energy beyond what your environment is saying, just, I've had enough, this stops now, and it gets in you, your genes will go, oh, we got something new to do, and they'll do something different, rather abruptly sometimes, based on your perceptions and beliefs, to programs the genes ahead of an actual event. And that last statement is what this book is about. Can we create an energy so that of an event that has not happened yet, and have our genes respond as if it has? Science says yes. This is not about woo-woo stuff. This is, some of the people I meet, they just get all woo-wooed up, mysticism. And I said, no, you're not even close to being mystical. You don't get mystical till you get through that gate in your eighth energy center. There's a gate there where the angel is. You got it. If you continue to mentally practice, that's a hard word, isn't it? You got to practice. Why practice? When we're in our brain, we learn that every thought creates neural networks. You've seen those little fingers and they make connections. And every rehearsing of those thoughts rebonds them, and you rehearse it and your brain gets in a loop and you hurt. It's the same principle. Now that we want to do something healthy for us, we create a thought pattern so that we can have neural networks building. And as we go on in life and we forget about it, we come down and we rehearse that neural network again. And we go back into our life, we get busy and we rehearse it. And pretty soon that new life pattern is set. And it will tell our genes to start doing something different. This is science. This is human. If you continue to mentally practice enough times this new series of choices, behaviors, and experience that you desire, reproducing the same new level of mind over and over again, then your brain will begin to physically change, installing new neurological circuitry to begin to think from the new level of mind, to look as if the experience has already happened. You're building, I am healthy, I am healthy, I am healthy, I see this, I am an eternal being of beauty and health and love. And you get that in you. And you practice it and build those neural networks, and your very genes will start getting the idea and start changing you genetically in your expression. I think that's so cool. Then your brain and body will no longer be living in the same past, because that's who we are. We've had a history of our experiences and we express it. That's what our cortex, that's the job of our cortex, right? But instead, you'll be living in the new future that you created in your mind. You get to do this. You can. This is possible through mental rehearsal, otherwise known as practice. This technique is basically closing your eyes and repeatedly imaging and performing your future self. The more knowledge and experience you have wired in your brain about the new circuitry, the new reality you desire, the more resources you have to create a better model of it in your mental picturing. That's an important sentence. Let me rehearse it. The more knowledge and experience you have wired in your brain, knowledge. Let me go back to Dr. Joe's story. If you haven't read Dr. Joe's story about his accident where before he started anything having to do with his work and stuff, he was a young chiropractor. He was on a triathlon race. He was a jock in his younger days, and he was pedaling like crazy. He came through an accident. He came through a corner, turned the corner, and a car came behind him and hit him hard. Shattered a few of his bones in his back, and he went to the hospital. Now he's a chiropractor, and they want to put in a Harrington rod thing that rigids his back. And he said, no, I want to try to heal this on my own. So what does he do? He gains more knowledge of his back. He lays down on that bed. He ain't going anywhere else. And he starts rehearsing and practicing and studying his bones of his back again. Now, if there's ever a medical study that knows the back, it's a chiropractor. And still, he studied the back. Why? Well, he put it right here in this sentence. The more knowledge and experience you have wired in your brain about the new reality you desire, the more resources you have to create a better model of it in your mental picturing. And so the greater your intention experiences are. Use that idea when it comes time for you to create your own placebo for your own project. Don't go in blind. Get some knowledge about what you're working on. Do you have cancer? That was mine. Learn about that cancer. You don't get a medical degree. Get a good layman imagery of it so you can draw it on a piece of paper or talk about it. Knowledge is not self-induced sickness. Knowledge is the tool, the experience you wired in your brain, the new reality you desire, the more resources you have to create. Knowledge gives your brain, your mind, resources to use to create your healing placebo. Okay? That's an important one. A lot of people I talk to just think they can sit down and go, okay, blah, blah, blah. And I'll ask them, so did you study about it? No, I don't need to study about it. I got it. Really? Dr. Joe needed to study about it, and he was already a doctor of backbones. Think about it. I think this is an important statement. Okay? I'll continue now. Then you consciously mirror your thoughts and intentions with a heightened state of emotions. Now that you've got knowledge, you've got an image of your future self. Don't look at it like it's an in-law's photo album showing you pictures of their kids. Well, that's nice. This is a story about you. And what did you hear me say a little while ago? Love you first, most, and always. And this story about you, fall in love with this self and love it in its story of healing to the point where you can feel your emotional move. It can be a funny story. There are times when you're loving a child and the stories are just hilarious. There are times when you're loving a child and the stories will bring tears to your eyes and break your heart. Use what you come up with. Doesn't have to be one way or the other. I'm prone to comic relief when I deal with myself. I'm on page 107 now. By keeping your focus on this future event and not letting any other thoughts distract you, in a matter of moments, you turn down the volume of the neural circuit connected to the old self, which begins to turn off old genes, and you fire and wire new pictures. An interesting imagery. As you develop this new picture of your future self, the picture of your old self fades. Now, the body memory is pretty tenacious. It doesn't let go of experiences very quickly. And just out of nowhere, you'll get this, oh, you just do this, right? This is who you are. If you get emotional reactive to it, then you just rewire those brains. Oh yeah, I remember that. That's not me now. Now this is me over here. See what I'm doing now? Just to remind you, this is a value-based recording system. It records according to the value you give an experience. Ah, something happened. You just told your brain that was important. Remember it, and I will rehearse it for you some unexpected time in your future. You had a trauma experience with an old love, with a family member, with a boss, with whatever, and you told this to remember it, don't forget it, and tell me about it later. Now you've got to teach this to lower the volume, diminish the value, and say you're doing something new. You turn down the volume on the neural circuits connected to the old self. How? By telling it, oh, I use the expression, oh, that was just a bad day. Yeah, I'm doing this now. This is really cool. Did you see and talking to myself as if my side self is another person. Oh, do you see what I'm doing now? This is going to be cool. And I devalue my old self. Yeah, that was a bad day. And add heart value to my new self. That's how I help my body quit playing back my memories of 40 years of terror. At this point, your brain and body are no longer a record of your past. They are a map to the future. Once you start getting, see what I'm doing over here? See, I have built an energy map that's taken me there. And what you're looking at now is me on that journey. The next part is talking about mental rehearsal. And it goes over how different sports peoples, there is Arnold Rogers, there is a coach, there is a chess player who mastered chess in prison in Russia without any chessboard. He just created in his mind and he learned to memorize and figure out how to play chess in prison. And so rehearse it through your day. This isn't something you do once and forget. Just like most medications you get from a doctor. And I take this pill and do it every day for a month. Well, with this, since it's only a mind thing, you can do it throughout your day. You get 5 minutes, rehearse it. I'm on page 111 now. To understand more fully why mental rehearsal works, we need to look at just a few points of brain anatomy for a moment, and then briefly add some neurochemistry. We got a little science discussion coming up. Let's start by explaining that your frontal lobe, located behind your forehead, is your creative center. That's the seat of the guy that Dr. Joe says is the CEO of your head. Not you, this guy is. This is the part of the brain that learns new things, dreams new possibilities, makes conscious decisions, sets your intentions, and so on. Now, I want to focus on one phrase. This is the part of your brain that learns new things. How does it learn new things? By your senses. This is the core of your sense switchboard. That's why when you go into space and go into awareness, you disconnect this guy, because when you're in awareness and you're trying to perceive your space, you're tuning out your senses. And so this guy takes a break. Be right with you, Ushi. This is important because once you become more aware of your thoughts, ultimately you can better direct them. Most people, I'm talking about me actually, I was pretty out of control. I had no idea how to control my military PTSD. I was had one big reaction, one reaction after another. I didn't know I could do what I've learned with Dr. Joe. I didn't even know that was something people did. As you practice mental rehearsal, to truly concentrate and focus on the outcome you want, the frontal lobe is your ally. And that's what we're going to get into in a minute. This thing that chased me around, made me do all kind of crazy things, becomes my ally now. My helper. The moment you imagine a new future for yourself, think about the new possibilities and start to ask specific questions such as, what would it be like to live like that? In a matter of seconds, it creates both an intention. What would it be like if this guy starts piecing together a life experience and says, let's make an intention, a picture, a goal of doing that. That sounds like a good idea. And wish to experience and mental picture. The mental picture isn't something you hold out here. When I first learned meditation a long time ago, I thought when they said make a mental picture, it's like holding a picture in front, and I would project an image here. I'd like to suggest that you do something different. If you have experience in art or music or crafts or even sports, you know that when you're problem solving that type of creativity, you're not doing it here in your analytical mind. You're looking for a solution back here, as if your memory is hiding it. Someone asked me what it feels like. It feels like I'm remembering something that I didn't know. It just rises up from the back and I kind of know it. And then this guy starts analyzing, not from my life memory, but from this new picture. Talk to an artist and they say, well, I just kind of think, and then it just comes to mind. Now, graphical artist says, well, I picked this, and he pulls from his experience. That's a skill. But this too is a skill. By letting it come up in your mind and experiencing the experience, and then using this to analyze it, to remember it, to use it. On page 112. Now let's bring in some more neural chemistry. If your frontal lobe is orchestrating enough of these neural nets to fire in unison as you focus on a clear intention, there will come a moment when your thoughts will become the experience in your mind. When these networks start firing and wiring, they won't be, there'll come a time when they're not just daydreams. They'll actually start being an experience in your body. The neural peptide looks for the appropriate receptor sites of your genes or docking stations on which cells so that it can deliver its message to the body's hormonal centers and ultimately the cell DNAs. And the cell gets new message. Ultimately, this new thing that you told your body you're going to be doing communicates something new down to your DNA. And that DNA will shift and create new proteins to help you live that life that you just imagined. I think that is just outrageously great. You mean I get to choose that? Yeah. You can choose a new creation for yourself. And sometimes it's abrupt. A lot of times it's a little at a time, little at a time. I'm right now, this going to my future self is a little at a time, but I've had other things that happened pretty abruptly. When the DNA in a cell gets this new information from the neuropeptide, it responds by turning on some genes and turning off others. And depending on what that story is, it's a big change or a little change. Okay, let's talk to Rishi a little bit. Hello, Rishi. I see your hand up. Thank you for being patient with me.
Hello, hi. I'm so
Hi.
sorry. I was not able to unmute. Okay. So, as you mentioned, sir, that it's a entire day process. The mental rehearsing is an entire day process. I usually do whenever like my old beliefs come into mind. I say change. Uh, then I try to replace it with good things. Okay. But do we have to do like whenever we get a time, like as you mentioned, like 5 minutes, not only the time that I have that bad memory or belief that comes.
Well, you use that have to again. You got to get that out of your voice because I'm going to get you every time you tell me you have to do something. I said, I'm not going to make you do anything. You have to do that because of me. Okay. Do we get to, or just is the only time we do that in meditation? No. The whole idea of practicing, let's say you have a craft that you're learning, a skill, whether it's art or music or whatever. You have a time where you sit at your desk or your studio and you really work at it and you're focused. And then throughout your day, you'll have these 5 minute pauses where you go, oh yeah, I remember working, and you rehearse it again just in an idle moment. And so by practicing this in your meditation, you build a memory so that throughout the day, you can run that rehearsal again and again and again. Now, is this good? This is wonderful because think about what happens if a tragedy happens and you get this in you. You think about it numerous times over the day, right? Well, you're using the same system, the human system, except doing it for a beneficial reason, except instead of tying yourself to a painful moment, you're tying yourself to your future self, to something you're creating in you. Same system. If it can work to make you yucky, it can work to make you good. It's the same system.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Page 114, stem cells. Stem cells are the wild card in the system. Stem cells are the next layer we need to understand in the puzzle. They're at least partially responsible for how the seemingly impossible becomes possible. Officially, these are undifferentiated biological cells that become specialized. Our body is making stem cells all the time. Sometimes, but while we are in a state of stress, we're not using the stem cells, we're not digesting our food, we're not building a good immune system, we're not. What we are doing is sending energy and instructions for the Bible to be in survival mode. Survival mode is not health mode. So when you're in survival mode, you're actually suppressing these little messengers of recreating new cells, the stem cells, you're suppressing them. So the first and most important work you can do in Dr. Joe's work and meditation is to learn and practice stress-free time. I'm pretty real. I know some of you have some serious stress lives. Okay, deal with it. I got you. But when you sit in your chair to meditate, can you, for just a short while, let go of that stress? That's the goal. That's the lesson. That's the desire. That's the network that you want to build. Can you just let go for a while? If you do, if you learn that, one of the many benefits is that you allow the stress the stem cells to do the job of healing. And they work at every level of the body, whether it's flesh wounds, stomach stuff from being sickness like cancer or leukemia or other many diseases where the cells break down and they need to be rebuilt. The stem cells will rush in and help rebuild them. In wound healing studies where the subject is in a highly emotional negative state like anger, the stem cells don't get the message clearly. Even anger is enough to keep you from healing. I said even anger. Anger for me was a big deal. I was just chronically angry all the time. Now I'm kind of funny. So when the placebo effect is at work, you create the right level of mind with a clear intention and combine it with a maturing, elevated emotion. I love you, Ray. I love you, Ray. The right type of signal can reach the cell's DNA. And by doing that simple combination, you affect yourself at the DNA level. I thought that was mind blowing. When the first time I read that, I thought it was world changing. I was under the impression when I started this 8 years ago or so that my genetics was fixed. I was chronically angry because that's my father was chronically angry, and that's just us crazy Dwyers. We're just a bunch of whacked out, crazy, angry people. Really, I did. Come to find out, all I have to do is change my energy, and that, let's go. So when the placebo effect is at work, you create the right level of mind with a clear intention and combine it with a nurturing, elevated emotion. The right type of signal can reach the cell's DNA. Isn't that about the coolest thing? Did you know that you can change the messaging of your DNA? Okay, I said that careful. I didn't mean to say you can change your DNA. I said you can change the messaging of your DNA. It's like turbocharging our efforts because the emotions helps us make epigenetic changes much faster. Take me seriously and find what it means for you when I say love you first, most, and always. And this is not you or me in my case. This is my expression. I am the field. Love me most, love me first, love me always. And those who come in my field will know that I love them too. You can feel it. That's my intent anyway. Do I mess around? Yeah, I get kicked off my center sometimes. I'm not some guru sitting on a big pillow. I'm still just a guy who loves this work and is so grateful for the changes in me that I've learned through it. And that's why I do what I do here, is that I just cannot imagine I got to be who I am today. I did it through what it's saying in this book. The moment someone starts getting a clear intention, remember the intention follows the creative idea. What would it be like if, and this image comes to mind? You know the expression, the image comes to mind. What came to mind? I got this image come to mind. Then you go, nah, I don't want that. I don't want that. And you kind of shove it away like flipping through pages. And then an image comes to mind like, I got this idea. And the cortex goes, oh, I like that one. And your heart leaps because, oh, let's do that. You got your mind tuned in, you got your heart tuned in, you're ready to go. Now look at the pattern of many of the placebo studies. The moment someone starts getting a clear intention of a new future and then combines it with a heightened emotion is the moment the body is no longer in the past. Because this guy is tying to this image of your future self. He lets go of this stuff you're holding on to. Your body is trained to hold on to. He lets it go. And your body instantly, okay, maybe not so instantly, and the body begins to de-stress in that process. And in that de-stressing, just that alone, look at all the things we've read about bodies. The body starts accepting stem cells. The body's immune system starts working. Even if you're eating the greenest food you can eat, means the healthiest organic, you're not absorbing nutrition as well when you're stressed out and angry. You put that away and get excited about this new intention, and all of a sudden your whole body chemistry changes and your hormones take and your genetic expression takes the change right then in that moment. The body is living in that new future because we've seen the body doesn't know the difference between, as far as the body knows, it doesn't care. Okay, it just does what the intention tells it to. Through a vital component, that process, because it's new information coming from outside the cell. That outside the cell, this new energy that you tune to penetrates your body, creates a new environment in your body, and that new environment has your DNA make a different expression. Wow, I think that is just, we get to change the expression of our DNA. It's not some because we're blessed and someone gives us holy order or we've done some divine right or spiritual. No, we get to because we're human. This is our design. We've just been educated out of it. I'm not making you something. I'm not attempting to make you something you are not already. You already are this. You've just been educated out of it. It's there waiting for you. As soon as you get the education to how to use it, it's there. If that's true, then it must always have been there and you just didn't know it. So now you know it. Now you can practice it. Now you can test it in yourself as you learn it. Yeah, play games with it. Test your skill development in it. Do little things to see if you can do something. I don't know, just let's return. I'm on the bottom of 118. Let's return to mental rehearsal for a moment. That is an aphorism to Dr. Joe's meditation. Let's return to Dr. Joe's meditation for a moment. Remember how the frontal lobe is our ally in mental rehearsal? That's true because we've established earlier the frontal lobe helps us unplug from the body. If we don't give this guy something to do, we can disconnect it for a moment. Okay, and he'll go, I'm bored, and replug, and you become alert to your environment, and you become alert to sounds, smells, and everything. And all of a sudden, you tune back into your body, just like that. I've been doing this for a while, and I still get those moments. The good thing now is that I recognize it and I go, oh man, come on, Ray, you can do better than this. And I sit back and I go back into my meditation. I go back into my space within space. And I start engaging Some of you have heard me use the word attentive awareness. I became attentive, alert to my experiences. What is it? When I become attentive, the cortex tunes to my experiences and has to let go of my body because now I've given it another job. You with me? There is a misstatement that I say sometimes is that I go into space to turn off my CEO, set him down, make him go away, make him shut up. And to some degree, that's right. That is the beginning process. But once I go into space, okay, and I'm in my heart center and I am following it and following, and I start to get messages. I allow my attentiveness to go to that space and become aware of it, become attentive to it. And in that attentiveness, my interest, my consciousness interest is alerted, which means I have tuned out my senses. And now I'm aware and conscious and alerted to what I'm doing in my meditation. Does that make sense? Now we can understand exactly why it is that we hold a clear intention. Okay, I'll be asking for a comment here in just a minute. Now we can understand exactly why it is that we hold a clear intention of a new future. One, marry it to a state of experience, elevated emotion, and repeat over and over until we've created a new state of mind and a new state of being. These thoughts will seem more real to us than our previous limited view of reality. We'll finally be free of this, let go. And once we truly embrace that emotion, we can move easily, fall in love with the possibility that we've been envisioning. As long as you're doing this with your past self, you're going to find it very hard to fall in love with your future self. That was my experience. It's already happened. We are signaling the gene ahead of the environment. Now we no longer waiting for the change and hoping for the change. We are the change. When we get this previous statement in us and we are experiencing that future self moment to such a degree that we are attentive and our cortex is turned off from our senses and is involved in the awareness and alertness and attentiveness of our experiencing our future self, that energy of the moment goes into our body and that becomes our new environment. And the very DNA executes a little differently than it did a moment before. This is science. This ain't woo-woo. And in so doing, you have changed your body at the DNA level. Wow. And one of the things that really wowed me was from last chapter, that new DNA expression. When you practice it, practice it, practice it, and you make it part of your beingness now, that genetic expression is passed on to your children. And they, in your environment, will pick up that energy, that expression. This isn't woo-woo. This is science. If there's ever a reason to motivate you to get through the tears and the urgency to let go of this, let it be the little ones around you and say, I need to overcome for them, right? Any comments? I read a few pages there, and this is pretty intense. There is a paragraph here I didn't highlight as much as I wanted to. I'm back over on page 116. If we have a heightened emotional response to the new thoughts we're concentrating on in mental rehearsal, it's like turbocharging our efforts because the emotions help us make epigenetic changes much faster. I like the word help. Is it an absolute requirement to change? No, but it empowers, it fires up the engine and gives a little bit more urgency at the genetic level to change. We don't need, it says here, the emotional component. After all, the subjects who straightened their in the things they said they changed harder, harder, harder. Remember, laughter in the study. They just did it. Hmm. Any comments on this? What I hope you get from this is that one, as you create your placebo, do a little homework and learn about what it is your future intent is. I've had such a medical journey that that's about all I think about. Perfecting the self-image of myself to overcome this shadow that walks with me. Um, I was at a group a couple weeks ago, and the conversation come up about abundance. And they want to know what I was doing to meditate for abundance. And I go, I can't even think. I don't even know what abundance is. It's like, so what do you mean? It says, all I care about, my abundance amounts to my health. I got that. I'm good. It says, these people that meditate for abundance, I don't even understand. It is so outside all the work that I've done. I can't even advise on it. It's just like, okay, good luck with that. Just I can give you the structure to do it. Um, People who do a craft, there's a structure that is common, right, spelled out of the placebo. Create a future intent, design an intention based on this image of seeing yourself do it. Practice a repetition of it so the neural network grows in your mind, and love it, love it, love it, so that every time you rehearse that picture, your heart loves to rehearse the picture. I just love to see me do that. No comments yet? Okay. This whole book is about you learning the principles that was just laid out in this chapter. And we'll go into more and more detail each time. You are the environment. You are the control. I was raised in the church, and I used to watch people kneel before a candle, and they'd light the candle, and one after another and after another, as a young man, and nothing happened. They just lighting the candle. They're just hoping in the darkness. And then one person will get down there on their knees and light a candle, and their heart would break and their world would change. Why that one person and not everybody else? Because that one person tuned their heart into the environment, created a future self, created an intention that called their heart to them and a message for their heart, and sang that message to themselves throughout the day. That's how it's done. You can do it by lighting a candle in church. You can do it by sitting in your meditation chair. Doesn't matter. Same thing. Do you remember last couple of weeks ago, we told a story of a group of men who went to a monastery and they rehearsed their life as if they were 20, 22 years younger. They went in there and they changed their foods. They changed what was on the television. They changed the magazines on the shelf and on the table that look at the pictures that were 20 years old, that were 20 years ago. They changed everything about everything. Even the clothes that was provided for them were clothes from a 20-year-old difference. And in 1 week, most of those men came out healthier and happier. How can that happen in 1 week? Because they created a different image in their mind and they rehearsed it and lived it for 1 week. It doesn't have to take months and years. Sometimes when you get the formula right, it can be pretty quick. When they found what they were looking for, the proteins unwrapped the DNA, switching on the genes that was lying in wait and triggering epigenetic changes. These epigenetic changes resulted in the production of new proteins that resembled the protein of men 22 years younger than they were. If the men's bodies didn't happen to have the necessary parts to create whatever the epigenetic changes required, this is the good part, the epigenome simply called upon the stem cells, those magic cells that can do anything they're asked, to make what was needed. I just don't have health genes in me anymore. The body doesn't care. Your body's making stem cells. Let's go call up our friends, the stem cells, and they will modify, specialize into what you need. Don't think you're too old to do this work. I'm 76 years old. I'm still kicking cancer's butt. And just think it's the coolest thing in the world that I do. A cascade of physical improvements ensured that the men made more epigenetic changes and switched on more genes until finally the men who waltzed back out of the monastery gates were no longer the same men who had shuffled through those gates just 1 week earlier. They had become healthier, not by taking medicine, not by special therapy, just by playing and rehearsing being 20 years younger. And if the process worked for these guys, I assure you that it can work for you too. What reality do you choose to live in? Now, I know that's an oversimplification because you came here to sit and listen to this with baggage from from your early life, your past life. A lot of it you didn't choose because it was put on you and you were miseducated. Fine, I got that. Now that you've learned the possibility that you can get free, is it worth just the possibility to be free of these things that hold you imprisoned with anger and sadness and loneliness and bitterness? Just the possibility, is that enough hope for you to do the work? It was for me. Are you kidding me? I can end this life threat that was on me for the last 9 years. Are you kidding me? I went at it for just, you sometimes hear me talk about the work and the promise. That's the promise. That's the root of it. You change your energy and your body will change. That's the promise. What reality do you choose to live in? And who are you pretending to be? It could be that simple. I was pretending to be an angry Army veteran with a lot of pain in my mind and heart. And I rehearsed that all day long. And anybody who challenged me, I'd rehearse it on them. I'm not that anymore. I'm rehearsing a new story. I'm rehearsing that I get to talk to people about loving themselves, about healing, about how this old man finally learned how to love himself and release a lifetime of pain. I get to tell people how my mind is quiet now. I get to tell people how I love my wife more now than I could have imagined possible just a few years ago. Oh, I've always cared for her, but I tell her thank you all day long. Why? Because I have such gratitude for the journey that got me here. Who are you pretending to be? That's the last sentence of the chapter. Any comments? Talk to me. Who are you pretending to be? Margie, thank you for your hand. Margie? There you
Sorry.
go. There you
Yeah,
go.
I kept clicking and it wouldn't. Did you heal I wanted to ask you, did you heal at home or at an event?
Home.
Mm,
My
wow.
major
Mm,
my major healings was before I had talked to anybody else. I did
wow.
it right here in this
Mm,
chair, rolling around. Well, so I started in the chair and ended up rolling around the floor. But I had nobody to talk to. I had no one even to tell that what had happened to me. I ended the cancer sitting here. A year later, I ended colon cancer sitting here.
so did you have to have a gamma event or did you just
Oh
work on
yeah,
it every
I
day?
think it no, I
Mm,
think it was a gamma event. I laid on the
mm.
floor and my head and mind just went. You ever
Oh,
hear stories of people thrashing on the floor just like that? I did that
yeah.
right down there on the floor. I got electrified. I mean, it was, yeah, I was so maxed out. I thought I was dying. In fact, when I surrendered that first time, it's like, okay, take me. It was just,
Right.
I thought I was gone. And I
I'm
was
hope
energetically. The old man was leaving, and it was a cataclysmic change. And there's a moment in between there that's like, okay, just do I get to go back to my body, or is this the end of it? You know? And of course, the
mm.
spirit knew what was, and they just played with me, and they just did what it wanted to do. And then I got up off the floor, going, "Wow,
Do you
yeah,
think you have to have one of those events in order to heal or
absolutely not."
okay, good. Because my
Every
analytical mind.
everybody is on their own journey, on their own measure. It's just it. It's like so much of my journey. I earned it. Why do I have this propensity to have cancer? Well, I earned it. Just I was one toxic, dark, angry, kind of person. I earned it. And now to break that, I am pretty intense. Just sitting here talking to people, I'm intense. And so it takes a little lightning to get me to really let go sometimes.
I
But
get
I know
that.
people who just gently went, "Oh, okay, I'm glad that's over with." And you look at them like, "How'd you do that?" Where's the lightning and thunder,
Right.
So some people just they go into it and they just release. They go, "Oh man, that was good." And they're changed right there. And it's quiet and it's gentle and it's loving. And you just look at them like, "Is that all?" Where's all the, yeah.
Mhm.
So no, you don't need the craziness that I had.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Just wanted to know. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Mm.
I know a couple. The lady went through a full year with me, and which means she did the breaking the habit, you the placebo, becoming supernatural, and we're starting breaking the habit again when the husband joined us, and he just did that because they had signed up for a Dr. Joe retreat, 1 week long, and he'd never really studied the book
Mm.
before, and he's just kind of like showing up just to see what it's about because he's going to go with his wife. He
Mhm.
is about as indifferent as that. Okay. Okay. I just want to see it because I want to go with the retreat with my wife. Okay. He's there, never meditated. I think he's an accountant or something, just kind of a figure, just a really nice guy, but just none of this other stuff. He's halfway through it and he goes all in on a meditation and he goes on the floor and he just blows up his head and gets up off the floor going, I saw it. I understand. And he was changed in that moment. Now, he didn't have the nightmares of letting go to let go that I did, but he didn't even try. He just kind of like, okay. And he just did what Dr. Joe said and went through the door because for him, he didn't have a life of nightmares like I did. He just had to understand. He had to be re-educated on what was possible because all that stuff is already there for us. We're just trying to hold on to stuff. Quit that. If you can gently quit holding to your life, then you can gently go through that door and have a great new life. Anybody else? Thank you. That was a good question. Nobody?
Hey Ray,
Hi.
I'm new to this group today. Just wanted to thank you for introducing this to me. I came through Layla Sunday group, and she mentioned that this group was happening. I have only started doing the audiobooks, but I am planning to attend the Dr. Joe week-long here in DC this coming month. And I'm going to be signing off the group, but I just wanted to thank you for being so dedicated to providing people this opportunity to be exposed to this information and to internalize it the way that they need to, and for sharing your story about your own experiences and how transformative they have been for you. So it's really useful,
Well,
very powerful. And,
thank you for speaking up, Dan.
yeah,
Washington, D.C. has a pretty big Dispenza group around there. Have you been able to connect with anybody yet?
I have really been kind of, well, no. Well, no need to beat around the bush. I
Yeah.
have yet to really connect with anybody
Okay.
here locally. I'm suspecting that I'll have an opportunity to do that.
Okay. Well, as it becomes familiar in your mind, as you do the work and study the material, it will become more and more familiar, and you'll have this thing in you that will give you permission to do what otherwise you wouldn't ever do. I mean, there's a group here that does walking meditations at a city park that has a little lake, and they walk down and come back. It took me a long time to give me permission to go in public and do that zombie walk where, you know what I'm talking about. You see pictures of it. And I just couldn't allow myself to do it for the longest time. Now I go down there and I think it's a hoot, you know. So this inner permission thing is real, but the way you overcome it is slowly give yourself familiarity to work with, become more and more familiar, and pretty soon it's just what you do.
Yes, I thank you for that. For that, again, I'm looking forward to deepening. I have done a lot of the explorations, both intellectual, ceremonially, and the whole idea of self-love is a powerful motivator. And I just wanted to thank you again for putting yourself out there in that really authentic way. And I appreciate everybody who's here looking for that.
Well, Dan, you know how to
And there will
find
be
me.
too much love in the world.
Yeah, Dan, you now know how to find me. And if you want to get on my WhatsApp page and maybe chat with the group, this is the link. Everybody, if you're not on my WhatsApp where you can say hello to me during the week, tell us what you're meditating, tell us what you're doing. That's what you do. And just if you have a problem, just a discussion, stir questions. You got an audience of people who are more similar to you than you can understand. We've all, if not one of us, someone does understand your journey. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
So thank you again, and aloha to everyone.
Okay. You're welcome, Dan. Hope to see you next Sunday.
Indeed.
Anybody else?
Hey Ray, this is Coach Bonnie.
Hi, Coach
And
Bonnie. How you doing? It's good to hear your voice.
oh my God, it was so good to hear your voice. Everything tonight was just really, although I've heard it before, read it before, it's just, I don't know, just when you go through and you talk about it and then you read and you take a break and you break it down, you just make it so simple for me.
Yeah,
And
it's a human thing. You know, it just that was the part I stress it like that because for me, I had this idea that to get into this self-healing stuff and all this other stuff that we do, I thought it was some kind of mystical thing. And you got to kind of do some special kind of oming meditation, with your fingers held just right and all this other kind of stuff. No, it's none of that. This is a human experience. This is why it's human, is why Dr. Joe can go around the planet and teach it to every culture in the planet and have it received as is. It doesn't criticize any religion, any government, anything. This is just talking how to be a healthy human. I just think that is the coolest thing. I am so pleased that I get to share a wisdom like that. Just I'm just so pleased I can share something like that.
I'm sure you are. You're blessing a lot of people.
Well, thank you, Coach. What tonight, since you're speaking to me, I'll kind of pull your string. What tonight did you like that you can use or kind of resonate with you?
Well, I like how you said, you take it with you. In the morning, you do your meditations, your visualization, and you don't have to just put it down until you go to bed at night, which is a good idea. Bookending your days. I think it's a great idea. But it's so much stuff that comes up during the day where we have to really train our mind to think differently as well.
Yes.
And so the way you said, like an artist, you just have to, it doesn't take forever. You could take a minute or two during the day, you catch a thought, you retrain that thought, and then you start making that a habit. I think right there for me is where the growth is happening. Is to
Yeah.
catch that stuff that try to comes up all throughout the day.
Right. Yeah. Changing who you say you are, like that statement on the end. Who are you pretending to be? I like that word pretending. Who are you pretending to be? Because the divine knows who you really are. Your
Mm,
inner self knows who you really are. And you are a divine being of beauty and light. But
mhm,
we're on this world and we're miseducated into thinking we're these struggling flesh people in some kind of funny role. Not so funny sometimes. And it's just like pretending. We are actually pretending to be something. Yeah. And so if we can pretend, right? Let's pretend to do something differently because I don't like the guy I used to pretend to be.
mhm,
He messed up everybody's life he came in contact with almost.
mhm.
Now I'm pretending to be this funny old man who loves to talk about meditation to everybody who crosses his path and gives him half a minute. I have to be careful though. I live in a community that it would weird out really quick if they saw what I did, if they knew me. Being a fundamental religious person imprisons them,
Yeah,
and I have to give them grace, not condemnation.
that's correct.
I say that because I was one of them not too many years ago, and I had to work to get free of the prison of religion that I was in. And now, just I simply don't offend to the best of my ability. So I am pretending now to be a teacher of mysticism and healing.
Well, you're doing a pretty good job at it.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah.
I have a quick question for you.
Okay, Sandra.
Yes. First of all, thank you for the teachings today. It's always amazing. And my question today is, well, it's something personal. Like, do you pray or do you just meditate?
What's the difference? How do you define those two acts? Before I answer, I do have an answer, but
Yeah.
I've found that people have different meanings when they say those words. What
Yeah,
do you mean by prayer and meditation?
it's different though. Okay, when you do Dr. Joe Dispenza, is totally different than when you do a prayer.
What do
Eh,
you mean by prayer?
Well,
It's your word. What did you mean?
a prayer is when, well,
Let me simplify the question. Let me rescue you a little bit. When you pray, where is your God?
yeah, that's the thing.
When you meditate, where is your God? There's the answer. See, I was taught in the religion I was in that when I pray to a God over there.
Yeah.
When I meditate, I love the divine that's within me. That's the answer to the question. I meditate because I find, I am a believer in the divine more than I've ever in my life been. I love the divine more than I ever even knew about. So don't misunderstand. I am not in any way some kind of atheist or something like that. I have a relationship with the divine that I don't have words for. And I find the divine through inner me, not out there.
Okay. Thank you for the answer.
Okay. Ada, did you have your hands up for a comment?
That's Bonnie, I think.
No, there's one above. I've got Ada
Mhm.
on my list above her. Maybe not. Okay. I'll just lower her hand. If she wants to speak, she can do it again. There's
Yeah,
Ada.
question. And I was just, it's the long question. Can you hear me? I can read it, but it's in the chat. It's kind of towards the bottom. I think it's almost towards the bottom
Okay.
of the questions. It's a little long.
Oh, I see. Question.
If you
In
see.
addition to listening to the Dr. Joe meditation only, is there a lot of positive self-talk with yourself required? I ask because it sounds from what you say earlier that a lot of it is inner work on one's own. Yes, a lot of it is inner work from your own, and I'll explain it in just a minute.
Thank you.
You use the word required. That's like what the other lady was saying. Do you have to? No. Is it required? Well, some people just seem to walk through it. But
Yeah,
why?
yes, depend on where you're at.
Yeah, okay. But the self-talk, is it just part of it? It is. And let me tell you why it is. Let's say you have a trauma in your life. I don't care if it's a car accident or somebody gets mad at you and just slaps the crap out of you. You'll play that 1,000 times before the sun sets in your head. Why? Because that's the job of the cortex. When you have something valuable, it remembers it and rehearses it. How do you turn that off? By getting something new that's valuable and rehearsing it. It's the same system. If you don't like what's in this hand, then you got to get this hand busy until this hand's quiet. It's simply the human experience. Is it required? I'm sure there's some people would say, no, I did it without doing all that stuff. But as a common general idea, rehearsing your future self is what's building those neurons and is what's quieting down your old chat and making this one bigger and bigger in your mind. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah. So it's just part of the process. Even doctors say they could give you a pill that knocks you out and heals you and you get up in the morning, but they give you a pill and say, take these every day for the next 4 weeks and know yourself what that pill does. Okay, and they gives you a sheet that defines everything, and you're supposed to know that pill. Why are you taking that pill? Because it does this, and you've memorized the story, and you've got hope in you that it will affect you. And so it does in most cases. That's how it works. It works that way for doctor's calls, works that way for going into a chapel and opening your heart to the divine within you. It works that way when you sit on a park bench, let your mind open up to the environment of the beautiful park and the sound of birds and squirrels, and you fall in love with the moment, and you give yourself a moment of peace to heal in your busy day. All three are based on the same principle. Okay? You are a divine self-healing agent. And what we're learning here is the systems of the body so that you can test it in your life in little ways as you come across them, so that you can build confidence. Okay? All right. I think we're done unless somebody's got another conversation. This is why I call it a discussion group. That was good. So do we say good night?
Good night. Thank you so much. And thank you, Ray.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
Sandra.
Ray. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.
Miriam.
Thanks, Ray. You're
Thank you.
awesome.
Thank you,
Thank
Ray.
you, Bonnie. All
Bye.
you,
Take care. Looking
all you
forward to
wonderful
next week.
people.
So much, Ray.
See
Yeah,
you
you're a
next.
blessing.
See you next week. Next week we have a one called. Title of the chapter is Suggestibility.
That's a good one.
Suggestibility is a strange subject. It's like it is a principle. It is how we operate, and it's been used against us all our life. We're going to see if we can get a little bit free of it next week.
Great.
Good night, all. Love it. Love it. Love it. I'm ending this ends the recording.